started in the pit in 1977 at Sherwood Colliery. A lot of people from school went there. My dad was a former miner. Worked at various collieries throughout different counties. Coalface worker until 2009 at Welbeck Colliery when I had my accident. Late October 2009, just a typical day. We was on nights, picked the kids up from school, fed the birds as normal. Drove to work. We have a meeting with the overman who gives you a job description of what's happening and this, that and the other. They've got a large cavity on the face, which there was pumping. Obviously we travelled to the face, took the afternoon shift off, continued with the pumping throughout the night. We went to check everything was alright. The roof collapsed, and then it was 3 days later when I woke up in hospital with the injuries that I'd received that I realised the severity of what had happened.
The morning of the accident, I looked out the window and it was his boss. I'd only met him a couple of times, so I immediately thought, well, that's not normal. Went downstairs, let him in, and he asked me, said Kevin had an accident, and asked me which hospital I wanted him to go to. The next stage was I actually got to see Kevin. The injuries resulted in an immediate 8-hour operation.
When I came round on the Monday, I've been in ICU for 3 days. The doctor explained the severities of the injury. I got a broken tibia, broken fibula, floating kneecap, and a few head injuries. I then sat down, explained what the plan was regarding operations, cleaning it out, because the biggest thing was, with it being a dirty and dusty environment, infection in the leg. And then that's where they'd operated. They put steel plates in 2 places over the 3 days. They set a plan out for 6 months of what was going to happen. We visited the clinic on a fortnightly basis for checkups, and then obviously we went this particular day and there was a complication where the MRSA had got into the infection.
It had a major effect on him. He was in and out for the next probably year. Big effect on the children, trying to run the family life, trying to get them to and from school, work.
I first met Kevin in April 2016, at which point he was 7 years post-accident, and what I needed to do was formulate a plan and set realistic goals in which we could achieve to help Kevin regain some form of life, some enjoyment of life. Litigation has its ups and downs, and it is pretty much a roller coaster. So when you have an uncooperative defendant like we did, then you're required to make applications. Courts are busy, and this led to frustration from Kevin. But we managed him through it, and we managed to secure the relevant funds so he could undergo the surgery, and so he could secure suitable alternative accommodation, and also pay for a rehabilitation package to get him back on his feet again with prosthetics. One of the first steps was to address this issue of pain and depression. So we arranged for Kevin to see an expert in rehabilitation medicine.
We went to see a specialist, and he advised us that maybe the only conclusion was to actually take the lower part of the leg off to remove the pain and everything.
When you're suffering from significant pain and lack of mobility, sometimes undergoing an elective below-knee amputation is the only way forward. So despite all the problems that Kevin encountered, it did surprise everybody when he was back up on his feet within 6 months on a prosthetic. And it was so good to see the video of Kevin at pace on his prosthetic, walking for the first time in what had been 8 years since his accident. It was fantastic to see. A major ongoing concern for Kevin was financial worries. You know, you had a proud, hard-working man who had a family to provide for. He had a mortgage to pay, he had bills to meet. Who was going to do that for him? So what we did was we applied to the court for an interim payment, and thankfully we secured that interim payment. And that enabled Kevin to put those worries behind him and really concentrate on getting through this surgery and getting back up on his feet and regaining some quality of life. So the litigation process was rumbling on. We got permission to rely upon the experts that we needed to, and a trial was listed for the summer of this year, 2019. In the Easter of 2019, around springtime, we arranged a JSM, a joint settlement meeting with the defendants. Unfortunately, that didn't go as Kevin had hoped. The offers didn't meet what we deemed was a reasonable amount, and we at Ison Harrison advised Kevin not to accept the offer. We found it was vitally important that Kevin had sufficient funds because he had a real need for prosthetics and for medical support. So the case settled in April 2019, which meant that Kevin did not have to go through the trials and tribulation of a trial before a judge. I was really pleased with that. I think Kevin had gone through enough over the last decade, and it was really nice to see this weight being lifted from Kevin's shoulders, and he could now start planning for the future, including flying his birds of prey, which I know he's very fond of.
Time Gareth suggested something that might happen, it happened. The results started to come through. Obviously after the amputation, we're going on to prosthetics. Gareth sorted all the psychiatrist, physiotherapy, purchase of the bungalow, where we went from there, and any other thing. I mean, he was like on call 24 hours a day if we wanted him. If we got a problem, we phoned him up, he was there, we got his direct number, and he was just, well, best since sliced bread, you know what I mean. He was really, really good, yeah, really good.